No, because and I'm glad you're saying all of this because it's been a conversation that we've been having for a very long time. We're like, we don't want to see anyone else pass who are struggling when, they could have gotten help or the help that they needed
Hmm.
before their demise. So
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
I'm glad you're saying that. It's so important. It's so important as far as,
Yeah.
getting yourself a policy and stuff like that. Everyone should be set up on one. I recently had death in my family, and they're applying for the COVID relief fund. But if the
Hmm.
fund was not there, I'm not sure. It probably would have been another GoFundMe situation. Um,
Right.
but knock on wood, the fund is available through FEMA, so the funeral expenses will be covered. But this is, a great segue to let's get a policy for the
Yeah,
remaining,
absolutely.
yeah, for the remaining
Absolutely. I mean,
siblings. Let's get a policy.
get a policy. Like, I hate when I see GoFundMe's. It
Hmm.
like based on what I do, it irks me.
Yeah,
Barbecues, cookouts, car washes. I mean, come on, guys. This isn't the '70s or the '80s.
yeah,
Like,
rent
there's
parties.
enough. Yeah, there's enough education out there for us to understand. I mean, there's people that work at McDonald's that make minimum wage that have life insurance policy. So the average person can have a life insurance policy.
Mm-hmm.
They can afford it, even though they don't think they can. They need to call a representative or call an agent somewhere and say, "Man, can I get some quotes on
Yeah.
on something?" Because you're looking at the difference between, you're talking about the average American doesn't have $500 for an emergency, for unexpected emergency. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
last time I checked, death doesn't schedule itself into your
Hmm.
calendar. So
Yeah.
if it's usually going to be unexpected, or even if that person is elderly and they may be knocking, if you didn't prepare, then you might be putting yourself in a position where it's too late to get them insured because they're not insurable, right? So
Right.
that is important to get them insured early, unless you get them like final expense or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
where they're not insurable, but you can still get enough to take care of their um, final expense costs, right? Final expense costs are somewhere between 18 to 20 grand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people will have a little bit of money to put up for the final expenses, but then they usually will go and do a GoFundMe or a car wash or a barbecue or something like that, right? And more usually don't raise enough. Usually don't,
Yeah.
right? So that is financially devastating. Not only are you dealing with the loss of a loved one, but now you're financially devastated, right? You can get a
Yeah.
policy for 100,000 and have tax free money that takes care of the final expenses, and then maybe give the family a leg up to maybe invest in a business or just to put away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is
Mm-hmm.
important. So it makes a big difference between you going in debt severely and then you getting a cash reward. In the Black and Brown communities, it's very important that, you know, based on our social climate and things going on, imagine if every person. I always tell our people this, and I say it with the most, just to make it just hit home. Like, stop dying for free.
Mm.
Don't die. I said, why do we die for free? Stop dying for free.
Yeah.
There should be a 500,000 $1 million policy before you sue the police department or whatever. If there's some wrongdoing or whatever, then you should be leaving something to your
Right.
family. Put them ahead. Our lives are valuable. They mean something, and there should be value placed on
Yeah. Yeah.
it, especially ours. We should have more insurance policies than anybody else.
Exactly. That's how it
And
should be.
I always tell people, I say we should have more insurance than anybody else. Black and
Yeah.
brown people should. I believe in the industry in general. Everybody should have life insurance, but especially you know us, based on our thinking and our mindset, and then our social status in society. It's like, well, look,
Mm-hmm.
man, like, get a life insurance policy,
Yeah.
right? I was just talking about this earlier about, I don't believe all cops are bad.
Right.
I've run into a lot of good cops. I've been let off with a warning a ton of times with stuff that was like, hey, don't jaywalk, or whatever it is, type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, but you don't know which copy you're gonna get that day.
Exactly.
So if something
Exactly.
happens, if this is the basis that you exist under, everybody doesn't exist under that mindset. I don't exist under that mindset. But for
Mm-hmm.
many of us that do exist under that mindset, wouldn't it be wise for you to protect your life if you just think that your life is at risk?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? So if that's the premise under which you're moving from day to day, then you should don't you should you have you should have it anyway, because
Exactly.
you never know when you're gonna, even if you don't think like that, you should have it anyway. But if you do, you should be the first to have it.
Right. Right. Pretty
You
simple.
understand
Yeah.
what I'm saying? You're right. It's not rocket science. So
Right.
it's very beneficial for a number of different reasons, just on the investment side as well. So it's like, again, like I said, it's very overlooked, and people should start really looking into um, life insurance policies, and some of the more
Mm-hmm.
sophisticated ones for those of individuals who make a little bit more money.
Mm-hmm.
Look into some policies on the more sophisticated side, and how they could um, bring you some return
Mm-hmm.
on what you put in there.
And I'm glad you broke it down like that, because a lot of times we don't understand like certain jargon, and it's like, no one has time to really figure it all out. But I think you
Sure.
put it in a term, or put it in terms that everyone's able to understand. So there should
Right.
be no confusion. If there is any confusion, then I'm going to be confused, because I'm like, wait a minute. You pretty much said get life insurance. That's the easiest way.
Right. All right. Let's just start there. Let's start there.
Yeah, let's
Let's start
get
there.
it. Just
You
get
know,
it. Yeah,
right. Before you want to buy 10 unit apartment buildings, start with
exactly.
getting life insurance. You talk about
Exactly.
investments. Let's just start with the basics. Just
Yeah,
do that first and go from there.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now, okay. So now Los Negros spirits. Now, why
Yes.
Los Negros?
Los Negros is kind of the brainchild of Randy and myself putting our heads together and saying we want something that represents us, how we feel, how we look at ourselves. And there's so much negativity placed on the color black, but then there's not any focus on the positive things that are associated with black, right? The things that are classy and elegant, like a black tie event, right? The
Mm-hmm.
car that comes to pick you up that goes to the black tie event is usually a black car, right?
Right?
When if you make enough money and you're lucky enough, one day American Express may send you an invitation to apply for a black card, right?
Mm-hmm.
In business, it's you don't want to be in the red, you want to be in the black, right? That
Exactly.
means you're a positive cash flow.
Yeah.
So there's so many things that are associated, even with women. You wear a little black dress. The little black dress in fashion is supposed to be sexy,
Yeah.
and
Nice little
there's so
cocktail
many
dress.
different.
You go to Vegas, you
Exactly.
want to
And
bet
there's so
on
many
black.
different kinds. And there you go. Right? So
Yeah.
all of these things are associated with elegance and class and sophistication. And we just wanted to, say abstractly, Los Negros means the blacks. It just means the blacks. It just,
Mm-hmm.
not the black people, just the blacks, just the color. You
Yeah.
know, it's 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 optics, it's imagery, right? Of association, which is very important, because now we're picking away at archetypes that have been built over
Mm-hmm.
centuries, right? But it's psychological. It's not uh, aggressive,
Right.
right? And it's something everybody can relate to.
Yes. So
Everybody can
now,
relate to wearing a black tie or a little black dress, or having a black card. Everybody can associate with that. Everybody
exactly.
gets it. So it doesn't ostracize anybody. It's inclusive, yet it also shines light on positivity as well.
Nice. Okay, so now why tequila? Like, why not, and forgive me if I'm speaking incorrectly because I don't drink,
Uh,
so I have no idea. Why not a cognac?
Not yet.
I know, right? Why not a cognac?
Well, tequila. Well, a few years ago, me and my partner, we consulted with some brands and found that and I'm more of the sipper than he is. He sips from time to time, but I'm more of the like, I'm like, I'll sip different spirits, right?
Yeah.
And tell them what I think. So I just felt like the more I learned about tequila, the more I realized how miseducated I was on tequila and the spirit, and how much most people are miseducated about the spirit. Um, and as I got older, I didn't want to have that groggy feeling, that achy feeling getting up the next day, which is probably why you don't drink at all. But when you sip, when you sip, if it's good and you're like at an event or whatever, you're like, I got stuff to do the next day, right?
Yeah.
Tequila is not a downer like other spirits, right? Tequila is known to be an upper, right?
Hmm.
So you're not gonna feel the same effects drinking tequila as other spirits, like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
cognac or a brandy or a scotch or a whiskey or whatever. And I believe that learning curve is starting to take place now, right? And
Mm.
so we decided to go with a spirit that kind of encapsulated um, encapsulated that meaning that we were going for of being health conscious. Our tequila is actually organic and it's gluten free, kosher, and all that. So we decided to go that route specifically because drinking an aged tequila is like sipping a scotch or a brandy or a cognac, right? A lot of them are aged in bourbon, whiskey, cognac barrels, right? So
Mm.
that's where you see the darker color from
Yeah.
the barrel
Right.
from an aged tequila that has um, been aged for 3, 5, 7, 10 years, right?
Hmm.
You'll
Hmm.
see it starting to darken, right? So you wouldn't know the difference between sipping that if you like to sip or something else, right? Like a brown spirit. Uh,
Hmm.
Tequila has gotten a bad rap over the years. It's something that it hit home for us. We want to dispel. Growing up in LA, I have a lot of Mexican and Latino friends and very close associates that I've worked with over the years. I have very close relationships with, and I think that there needs to be more respect given, right? We respect champagne, where champagne is from France. Well,
Hmm.
why do we crap on tequila? Why
Yeah.
do we why do we not respect that spirit? People don't really understand the culture. They don't understand the culture. I even had to learn the
Hmm.
culture. It's like, listen, humble yourself, fall back and take some notes and learn something. Read a book, go online. We just passed
Hmm.
the information age, right? So there's
Yeah.
no way or no reason you can't educate yourself on something. Tequila is meant to be sipped and savored, just like a fine wine or champagne. Like you sniff it, you look at the legs on the side of the glass, you savor it, right?
Hmm.
So this is one of the reasons, because we were like, we could be part of that movement of the education of what tequila really means, what it really is, and how it's supposed to be respected, and then um, in alignment also with the Mexican and Latino culture, right?
Hmm.
And giving them the respect, because people want to, do shots of tequila,
Yeah.
lime, licking lime from your hand, and or salt, licking salt from your hand, and doing the lime thing, and hitting shots just to get trashed. I ask people, oh, let's have some tequila. They're like, oh no, 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 I got to go to work tomorrow. They don't want
Yeah.
to. It's like, what? And it's almost like I don't want to get messed up. I don't want to be throwing up and all this. And that is the approach people take. Like, oh, it's like almost like it's down here, and all the other ones are up here. All the
Hmm.
other spirits are more classy and sophisticated, and
Right.
you know